Good morning, everyone. This is Donna with RichGreen Acres, and we're back. We went on a small mini vacation, which I'll be sharing some of the things with you. In fact, if you have the chance to go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, I highly recommend it. We went and celebrated Logan's 6th birthday. That's my youngest. And we're back, and I thought I'd do a quick garden tour. I have been struggling in the garden lately. We have been battling two major pests. One, ground squirrels. Ground squirrels have been getting in and eating all the tomatoes off the plants. They have been terrorizing my garden and tearing it to shreds. In fact, I had, within less than an hour yesterday, I planted my okra into the ground. They were starts growing, looking great. Went back in the house for a little while and then came back out and they were down to nothing. The other pest, which may have done the okra, I'm not 100% sure, are these big giant grasshoppers, about that big. They're about 1.5 to 2 inches long. Maybe some people call them locusts, but I still think they're a little smaller than a locust. But they have been all over my garden. So let's go take a look and see how things are going. We've gotten the back property, or actually it would be the front facing town. We've gotten that all finally mowed down and all the weeds taken care of. But if you look behind me here, some of these weeds are up to my hips, and that's what I'll be doing this weekend. So let's go ahead and head up and take a look in the garden and the greenhouse, and thanks for watching. One of the solution ideas that we're looking into are, excuse the roosters, these plastic sheetings, and that's to help keep the ground squirrels out and to line the whole fenceway. Now yesterday, I'm hoping it worked. This is the outside perimeter of the fence facing the house. But yesterday we did do what we could to take care of the ground squirrel problem. And we have what's called a rodinator, and it sends a shock wave and blasts through their hole and is supposed to kill them in the most humane way possible, and it disposes of them instantly. I am not one to I take life seriously. I am not one who likes to disregard life at all, and I say live and let live. But when they're destroying my food for my family, something has to be done. Unfortunately, the ground squirrels have to go. This is where they've dug up all under the rocks, and they've done this all the way around. And we blasted in here yesterday. Hopefully it takes care of it, and hopefully the rodinator does its job. So up here, these are ocotillos. They say they can take up to 2 years to actually root. I think they're looking pretty good. They're still green on the stems of them. These were gifted to us when we were on our trip to New Mexico. And we're going to try to grow them and see how they do here. I know they do well in New Mexico, and I think Arizona as well. This I just planted. I got this one from our local nursery. This is a yucca plant. I just love the green and yellow in it. Let's go ahead and take a walk inside the garden. Welcome to the garden. It's a bit messy in here still. I have a lot to do, but things are growing and things are green. And we'll just start at the front gate here. This pretty little plant, who's been struggling a little bit, is a Thai hot pepper. It's an ornamental pepper that has very, very hot peppers on it. This is some of the damage that these squirrels have been doing. This plant, unfortunately, this is a Napa Chardonnay, and it's probably a goner. I have a few more. I'm not too worried about it. It makes me really sad, but I'm not going to struggle to try to save it. They've just torn it to pieces. Right here, some of these tomatoes have lost their tags, so I'm just waiting to see what they are. I want to say this was a black cherry tomato, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe this is the same. Over here is another, I believe this is another cherry tomato here. My thyme needs to be trimmed back and is not looking very well, but it's still alive. This is called a lucifer plant. I also have another one that's very similar called a Paul Bunyan. They get really pretty flowers on them, and fortunately the deer do not like these, so they'll be going in the planters on the other side of the fence. I had my pretty little blue-eyed beauties and some other plants out there, and the deer, or perhaps it were the ground squirrels that were living under the rocks, completely cut it down, but it is coming back. I need to trim this one up. I have another one in the greenhouse that I did trim up, and it's looking a lot better. We have Black Beauty eggplants. I have a couple of these growing. They ate my beautiful hibiscus plant. It was quite a bit taller with flowers all over it, and they've about devoured it to nothing. This is a type of poppy, and I was told it bushes out and get up to 10 feet tall. The flowers are dying on it, but it is a perennial and will come back year after year. My mint and a sad looking tomato. This was a lucky tiger that's not doing well. We have Spanish lavender. I have alter ego peppers growing in this, and these are really neat. They're kind of ornamental. It's full of peppers, and these are a sweet but spicy pepper, so I'm looking forward to these. I really love growing peppers and just trying new types of peppers. The real hot ones, I let my husband do those, so he may be doing a few tests for you. He likes hot stuff. This is my garlic chives. Here, they're finally starting to come back. I had cilantro, beautiful cilantro growing here, and they devoured it. I have oregano. My cinnamon basil that died from the frost is, or I thought was dying, it wasn't doing very well, is finally coming back and doing a lot better. I have another tomato. This is an Amish paste here, and it's struggling, but I think I can save it. I need to get it transplanted. Now, this is California white sage. I was able to start these from seed. A lot of people have trouble starting them from seed. I highly recommend starting them in a paper towel with a little bit of peroxide and water, and just letting them grow in the window until they sprout, and then put them in like 6 cells and grow them in the greenhouse or mini greenhouse. And that's how I started mine, and they've done really well. I love the smell of sage, and I do a lot of smudging and things like that. This is another one here. It's a little smaller. These tomatoes were in the greenhouse. I want to say they're Black Beauties, but I'm not 100% sure what they are, because I had the names written on the containers that they were in, the little cells, and it actually washed off. So I have some mystery tomatoes growing here, but these were all struggling, and they're starting to look much better. We're going to have strawberries soon. I have a lot of struggling tomatoes that never came out of this curly stage. These are probably going to be disposed of. This was another one that was inside the greenhouse and struggling, and it's doing great. I have some gnarly ones that were really struggling out here. Since the weather's warmed up, they've done better, but this is all the leaves have done. a lot of my tomatoes stayed like this. And I'm guessing it's the weather. I'm not sure. If someone has a reason why you're, especially the Black Beauties, the Black Vernissage, a lot of those, the leaves just never opened. The bottom leaves are doing better, but the top leaves, I don't know if that's what you call the curly leaf disease or not. It's another one of these tomatoes. Pretty little buds on them. Another Black Beauty here. It's doing better. Over here I have a grape. This was just started from one of the bare root plants this year. I have another one in the greenhouse that is ready to trellis. It has been thriving in there, and I'll show that to you later. And this was Ethan's experimental pumpkin that he pulled out of the mulch pit. And it's doing okay. I need to get it in the ground, but it's looking okay. Over here in this raised bed, I've had this for a few years. This is just like a trough with wheels. I got that at Tractor Supply a few years ago. And in here I have pineapple sage and just your regular garden sage and another California white sage that needs to be transplanted. I do a lot of potting in here. And I haven't done much in this bed. It's time to plant this. We have another tomato that was in the greenhouse, struggling, and that had been neglected. The leaves dried out. I went away on vacation, and unfortunately things didn't get watered the way they should have. We have a tomato, and I want to say this is another Black Beauty here. Over here I have birdhouse gourds. I had 5 of these, and this one right here, again, the squirrels got to it. Back over here I have, I believe this is English lavender, and I started that from seed. It's ready to be transplanted into the ground once I find a home for it. This is the other plant like the Lucifer. This one is a Paul Bunyan, and again, the deer don't like it. And I got this from our local nursery, and it's a Crocosmia. Oh, this is the Lucifer. The other is a Paul Bunyan. They look the same. They just have different color flowers on them. My squash here isn't looking its best. I need to tend to it. It's starting to get that moldy, mildewy stuff on it. But I am finally getting squash down here. Let me see if I can find them. If the squirrels didn't get to them yesterday. Because there's one, if you can see it. We are getting squash. I believe these are Ford Hook zucchinis. This is the hot pepper bed. The hot peppers have been struggling, and they're not looking their best. Some of them, and I don't have them all labeled. This is holy basil. It needs to be transplanted. I just set them in there to get watered. Took them out of the greenhouse. I had room for this. It was another struggling tomato. It's a red I believe calabash. I am probably butchering the names of things. And it was looking a lot better. And then I went away on vacation, and again, I'm dealing with that curly leaf problem on a lot of my tomatoes this year. It could be the rain that we've had. It could be all of the cold weather, and it'd be warm one day and the next day it would be freezing. My tomatillos over here are looking awesome. And it's time to stake these up and help them out. They have blossoms and some of them are already forming tomatillos. And back here, my son, I'm just gonna see what it does. See if I can get there we go. He planted a pea back there, one single lone pea. So I decided to go ahead and leave it. I also found some little green inchy type worms crawling on my plants. These tomatoes are brandywines. This brandywine has a tomato already. These right here, we have a lucky tiger. Lucky tiger here. I've tried to plant 2 of each in each row. This was one that we just stuck in, and I believe this is a Brad's Atomic Grape. They weren't doing well in my other beds, so I took one and moved it over here. I know my tomatoes are close together. It's time to trim them up. And over here we have, these are the Napa Chardonnays. And they are looking a lot better than the one that the squirrel tore up. But I did also notice the squirrels have gotten into my raised beds as well. And I had tomatoes growing on many plants and I found them laying throughout the bed, half chewed up. So I was not happy. I was so meticulous at starting things out perfectly and having beds set for everything, but now that I've run out of space, I'm kind of sticking things hodgepodge. And this is a chocolate habanero that was in a container that really needed to go into the ground. I still have a couple of peppers in the greenhouse that are in very small containers, and they're already producing peppers in there, but they need to be transplanted. We have over here blue and gold tomatoes. That's the last 2 here. And in this little container yesterday, I just stuck some new cucumber seeds in a pot because, well, they devoured my cucumber. This was my dinosaur kale. It's probably a goner. I don't think that it's going to recover from this. This is all that is left of my big, beautiful dinosaur kale. And it was looking good, and it was almost ready to harvest some. In this bed, I have more tomatoes. We have a Bonnie Best here. These are more Napa Chardonnays, and as you can see, I'm starting to stake plants up. I need to go get some more stakes today. These are Black Beauties. This one pulled out of its curly leaf stage and is looking a lot better. The one on this side is still curled up at the top, not looking good at all. I may pull it. My husband keeps saying, give it a chance. Let me know what you think. This tomato here is a mortgage lifter, and it is staked up here and seems very happy. It is one of the tomato plants that I actually had tomatoes growing on, and I found them at the base of the plant chewed up. So hopefully we have taken care of the problem. I have another Black Beauty that had been struggling that we just stuck in here, trying to give it a chance, and another mortgage lifter in the back that's not quite as big. And over here against this little trellis are my Mexican sour gherkins, or cucamelons. They have been struggling. I've lost 4 of them. I have 2. This one is finally starting to take off. The one on this side is still struggling, but I think now that the weather has warmed up, I think it might just make it. This pepper bed is looking a lot better than my other pepper bed. This has my poblanos. It has my Anaheim peppers. It has my giant Marconis, Pasillos. It also has my California Wonder peppers, and this right here that's doing well is an Islander that gives off purple bell peppers. I have Craig's giant jalapenos growing, a Carbachi pepper, I believe that's what this one's showing. And then at the very end, I have a Brad's Atomic Grape here, and I have a yellow pear tomato. And both of them have had to be staked up. And as you can see, we've taken the tops off of these raised beds. The weather is finally warm enough that we are not foreseeing any more frost, probably until the end of September or October. The last couple of years have been pretty warm all the way, surprisingly into November. And when I say warm, I'm saying 50s, 60s. And then it starts cooling off, and we usually start getting snow and freeze around the end of November for sure. So along this wall, I have some pineapple mint. It's not looking its best. I have another tomato that was struggling. It has produced a tomato. I left it. This is another one of those black beauties that, in fact, it has a few tomatoes on it. I don't hold much hope for it, unless somebody can give me some suggestions. It's just one of those ones that the leaves never developed and never wanted to open. I have another black cherry tomato. We have in this grow bag strawberries that are starting to produce. I'm looking forward to more strawberries, probably by the end of this month. And this is June. It is June 13th today. And back here I have some tomato vegetable plant food that's a 12-10-5. This is very old. I haven't been using it, but you might be seeing it sitting there. It's something that needs to be replaced. I don't trust it. Especially, I think it's about a 3-year-old bag. It's got some tomatoes on this plant, and this is a black vernissage. We have another eggplant here, which the leaves are starting to curl up on it. Soil still moist. It was looking really nice yesterday, so I'm not sure why this morning when I came out. Hopefully as the sun warms up, it's still fairly early. It's about 5:45 this morning. And this, I had beautiful big tomatoes that were getting ready to be harvested. You may have seen them in another video. This is a Phoenix. It's just one of the hybrids that I picked up at our big box store, and it was doing great until the squirrels got a hold of it. Again, more black cherry tomatoes. In this one I had a black cherry tomato, and I had my pickling cucumbers. And this is what is left of it. Not much. Another lavender plant that I just transplanted yesterday until I find a home for it. It was in a smaller container. And over here, another cherry tomato. And I had pickling cucumbers in here. And this is all that is left of that pickling cucumber. Just a little bit of dried bark that came off of the plant, or stem of the plant. So over here I have Logan's sunflower. It is the only sunflower planted at this time. We have the goji berries. I think I need to trim this piece off. I don't know if the squirrels got to that or what, but the plant it does have some new growth, so I think it's fairly happy where it's at. This is where I bought the okra plants. And I planted these yesterday. And I went inside for less than an hour and I came back, and this is all that was left of the 8 okra plants that I stuck in the ground. You can hardly tell there was anything there at all. Another red goji berry. This is English lavender that I transplanted into the ground here, and this was one I started by seed. Blueberries. I have Patriot blueberries and I believe Duke. I believe I have that right. I have them written down. I have raspberries. And so far they're doing okay in the ground. I need to do some more weeding again. Weeding is a non-stop problem here, especially when everything has been so wet. And it's almost time to water this morning. I do my watering early in the morning before it gets too hot. And then on super hot days, it's another raspberry. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 2 more raspberry bushes to transplant. This is the elderberry bush that I bought at my nursery. It had been beautifully full of leaves. It had some blooms on it, and it was looking great until I transplanted it, and I'm guessing it went into transplant shock. It still has some leaves, but most of the leaves fell off of it, and I'm not sure if it's going to make it, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Unfortunately, I found that if I touch it slightly, the leaves want to just fall off. If anyone has recommendations, because I have struggled with elderberry, and from my understanding, these elderberry actually grow wild up here, just actually on the other side of the mountain there, and then up back behind us up in the mountains. I'm kind of at a loss, and I really want to include the elderberry in my garden. So real quick before I let you go, let's go ahead and take a look inside the greenhouse. I've been asked by a few people what I have growing in this pot, and this is just bee balm, and I've had this plant for about 3 years now. It keeps coming back year after year. So far this year it has not produced any flowers, but I expect it to. It's given me beautiful flowers every year. Let's just take a look inside. There's not a whole lot going on. I've moved some of the plants that were out here in the front, the flowers, into the greenhouse, and they were pretty much chewed down to nothing. Either the deer or the squirrel had gotten them. And all of these beautiful starry sky petunias are coming back. And I'm going to be doing a video on how you can propagate these beautiful plants just from a cutting, and you can make as many as you need. Have some starts growing here. There's some more Napa Chardonnays, some California Wonder Peppers, and some Lucky Tiger tomatoes. This was an Amish paste right here that doesn't look like it's doing too well. My strawberries dried out while I was gone. They weren't getting watered. And luckily, they're making a comeback. We have the kale still. The kids love munching on the kale. I've just kind of left it in here and it's doing fine. This was the other blue-eyed beauty that I had. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the proper name, but I'll show you. It's just one I bought from our big box store. It's osteospermum. But it had beautiful flowers on it. This is a lemon cucumber that has struggled, and I just stuck it in here in hopes that maybe it would make a comeback. another habanero that has been left in its pot for too long. It's not looking very good. The chocolate habaneros were infested with aphids, and I think I combated that problem pretty well with the neem oil. This is a peach tree still in the greenhouse. I may just leave the trees in the greenhouse until next spring, when it's time to actually, the best timing to transplant them in early spring. We waited a little long. Things got out of control, but as long as they're happy and healthy in here, they can probably stay in here until next season, and it's time to transplant. The only thing left in this bed, I really need to clean out this bed. I have some dying strawberries that didn't do too well in the 6 cells because they didn't get watered while I was gone. And these strawberries here that have just struggled, these are part of the 20 that I had purchased. And I'm guessing it's the soil here. Nothing did real well in that container bed. It's also pretty warm in here now. We have some Brandywine tomatoes that desperately need some help. Some more struggling tomatoes that are probably going to be discarded. We have a pea plant that I moved in here. It was struggling out there. The leaves were getting yellow and drying out. Not sure if it was just too hot for it at the time. We did get a heat wave. It's supposed to be in the 90s today, which is pretty hot for us. Cherries. We have that other grapevine that is ready to trellis. We have blueberry that needs to be transplanted, and one of the raspberries that needs to be tended to, and another, that may be the blackberry in the back that is really struggling. It did not get watered while I was gone, but the strawberries over here are doing well. We still have a yellow jacket problem in here, but it has been a lot less since I put up the trap for the wasps. And just a few plants that have been neglected. These I brought outside yesterday. They were all inside. These are my Seminole pumpkins, some spaghetti squash, some other pumpkins that I had started. They're ready to start hardening off and get them ready to go into the ground. My nasturtiums, everybody loves coming in here and eating the nasturtiums. They are delish. I love the sweet honey flavor with the little kick at the end. And here's Ethan pulling off some kale that he loves to eat.
Oh my god. That is hard. I actually need it for my praying mantis.
Oh, you're not eating the kale this morning?
I am also.
These are the Sugar Rush peach peppers that need transplanting, but they are already getting peppers on them. I have cinnamon basil back here. I have quite a bit of it that needs to be transplanted. And another California wonder pepper. And then inside I still have more plants. So I may have bitten off more than I can chew this year. These are the black goji berries. I think they'll come around now that it's a little warmer. They weren't doing too well, but I do have 2 of them and they're growing. And this is what the inside of the greenhouse looks like. Kind of messy, kind of hodgepodge, just everything's everywhere. I've cleaned a lot out, but I still need to do some cleaning in here. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch our videos and watch us grow. I'm still fairly new to gardening and I have a lot to learn. I definitely don't know it all, but I want to share our struggles as well as our successes with you. So I'm always open for tips and advice and learning and growing. And I hope you'll come along with us and grow with us. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.